Have you ever felt like your mind won't stop moving? Even when the world around you stands still, there's a constant hum behind your eyes. A quiet storm that doesn't ask for permission. It just stays. You tell yourself to relax, to be present, to just breathe. But the mind doesn't listen. It wanders through memories you didn't invite. It dissects conversations that ended hours ago. It imagines futures that may never exist. And then, as if that wasn't enough, you begin thinking about the fact that you're thinking. That's when it becomes exhausting. Because now you're not just inside your mind, you're watching yourself be inside it. You look at other people sometimes. They laugh easily. They speak without rehearsing. They exist without analyzing every heartbeat. And you wonder, what does it feel like to just be? To experience a moment without needing to understand it. For you, nothing is ever that simple. Every smile holds a question. Every silence feels like a message. Every goodbye echoes longer than it should. You feel too much. You think too much. You care too much. And somehow that becomes both your greatest strength and your quietest suffering. But you weren't always this way. There was a time when you felt things directly, before your mind learned to intervene, before it became the filter between you and life. Somewhere along the way, thinking stopped being a tool and became a shield, a way to stay safe. Psychology calls it hypervigilance, the brain's way of scanning for danger, even when danger is gone. Maybe you learned early that things weren't always stable, that moods could shift without warning, that words could hurt more than silence. So your mind adapted. It became faster, sharper, more aware. Not because you wanted to overthink, but because your system believed it had to. And here's the part people don't talk about. The same mind that protects you can also distance you from life. Because when everything is analyzed, nothing is fully felt. You become both the actor and the observer, living your life while simultaneously studying it. Moments don't just happen, they get processed. Emotions don't just move through you, they get questioned. And slowly, you stop experiencing life and start interpreting it. Neuroscience has a name for this state. It's called the default mode network. It's the system responsible for self-reflection, memory, and imagination. For most people, it quiets down when they rest. But for deep thinkers, it doesn't. It keeps looping, revisiting, replaying. Not because something is wrong with you, but because your brain is highly active in meaning-making. You don't just live moments, you connect them. You build patterns. You search for truth beneath the surface. And that depth comes at a cost. Because the more you see, the harder it becomes to feel at ease. You start noticing things others miss. The hesitation in someone's voice. The hidden sadness behind the smile. The tension in a room no one talks about. You read between lines that were never meant to be read. And while that awareness gives you insight, it can also isolate you. Because you begin to realize most people aren't living at that level of depth. And sometimes they don't want to. There's a loneliness in seeing too much, in understanding people who don't understand themselves, in feeling emotions you can't always explain. You crave connection, but your mind keeps stepping in, analyzing, questioning, protecting, and just when something real begins to form, you hesitate. Because your brain remembers. It remembers pain. It remembers unpredictability. It remembers what it felt like to not be safe. So it tries to stay one step ahead. Always. This is where overthinking quietly transforms. It's no longer just reflection, it becomes control. An attempt to predict life so life can't hurt you unexpectedly. But here's the paradox. The more you try to control every possibility, the less present you become in reality. You start living in simulations instead of moments, preparing for conversations that haven't happened, rehearsing emotions that may never be needed. And in doing so, you slowly drift away from the only place life exists, right now. There's also something deeper happening beneath all of this. Your mind isn't just thinking, it's trying to protect something softer, something more vulnerable. The part of you that still feels deeply. because thinking is easier than feeling sometimes. Feeling is unpredictable, messy, raw. But thinking? Thinking gives you distance. It gives you the illusion of control. That's why deep thinkers often struggle with one quiet truth. You can understand everything and still feel empty. You can explain love and still feel alone. You can analyze happiness and still not experience it. Because understanding is not the same as living. And eventually, your mind begins to get tired. Not broken, not weak, just tired. Tired of running in circles. Tired of chasing answers that keep multiplying. You start noticing something subtle. That all your thinking never actually brought you peace. It brought clarity, insight, awareness. But peace? Peace seemed just out of reach. That's when a shift begins. Quietly, almost unnoticed. You start realizing something important. That maybe the goal was never to stop thinking, but to stop believing every thought. Because not every thought is truth. Some are echoes of the past. Some are fears dressed as logic. Some are simply noise. And when you begin to see that, a small space opens between you and your mind. In that space, something new becomes possible. You can observe your thoughts without becoming them. You can feel emotions without needing to solve them. You can sit in silence without filling it. This is where healing begins for a deep thinker. Not by thinking more, but by learning how to be. You start noticing simple things again. The rhythm of your breath, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the quiet presence of a moment that doesn't need explanation. You begin to return to your body, to your senses, to life as it actually is, not as your mind interprets it. Psychology calls this embodiment, grounding awareness in the present moment, because no matter how powerful your thoughts are, they can never replace direct experience. And slowly, something softens inside you. You still think deeply, you still notice patterns, you still feel more than most, but it no longer controls you. You start setting boundaries, not just with people, but with your own mind. You start asking, does this thought help me or does it harm me? And sometimes you let it go, not because you solved it, but because you chose peace over analysis. You discover something surprising, that your depth was never the problem. Your sensitivity was never the flaw. Your mind was never your enemy. It was just trying to protect you in the only way it knew how. And now, you're learning a new way, a quieter way, a way where thinking and feeling can exist together without one overpowering the other. There comes a moment, after all the questions, when something inside you finally rests. Not because you found every answer, but because you no longer need to. You begin to understand something deeper than thought. That peace is not something you think your way into. It's something you return to when you stop running. And maybe that's the truth no one tells you. That your mind was never meant to be silent. It was meant to be guided. Because in the end, you are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them, the one who feels beneath them, the one who remains, even when they pass. And when you finally see that, the noise doesn't disappear, but it no longer owns you. It becomes just another passing wave in a mind that is learning, slowly, how to be still.